what's been building in your mind.
Yo. Pop a 40 and check your rollies. It's crime time. No, I probably said that wrong. Thank you for downloading the hottest, newest, most sensational wrestling podcast on iTunes, on Spreaker, on the planet Earth. Welcome to the Pro Slam World Podcast with Larry Mormon. Another episode, another week. Hope everyone's having a blast. Hope everyone's having a great time. Hope everyone had a wonderful, safe Memorial Day weekend. Of course, Memorial Day, a day that we take time, not necessarily, it's not for barbecues, it's not for celebrating the start of summer. It is especially not a time for getting the best deals and best sales on something. But Memorial Day, we take one day. We should take every day, but especially one day each year we take to remember those brave men and women who sacrificed it all, literally, for us, so we can have the freedoms that we have today. And one of those freedoms is myself making a podcast. Another one of those freedoms is for you to listen to the podcast, of course, if you'd like. But again, thank you very much for downloading. We're just trekking right along here. We got some great shows coming up, especially WWE. We're going to talk about a couple of upcoming pay-per-views for one for Raw, one for Smackdown. But don't forget, I'm going to mention it every week because it's a big-time show, Pro Wrestling Syndicate. Let me pause this. Not pause, but mute that part. Okay. Pro Wrestling Syndicate returns to New Jersey Saturday night, September 30th for Refuse to Lose 2017. Make sure to purchase your tickets at ProWrestlingSyndicate.com. They're only $20. You're not going to want to miss it. Vader, Sabu, main event. Check it out. Pro Wrestling Syndicate. I'm going to be there, and I hope to see you there as well. Come out, support the show, give a little bit of love for the podcast, but more important, give major love to independent wrestling. If it wasn't for independent wrestling, I preach this each and every week. It's the indies that feed the conglomerate that is the WWE. And WWE, trust me, they're going to be trekking right along with no problems. But they got a couple of big pay-per-views coming up. Let's talk about the latter. No pun intended, or maybe it is. It will be Sunday night, June 18th, from the Scott Trade Center in St. Louis, Missouri. Smackdown Live's exclusive Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Of course, available on the WWE Network. Already, big lineup, huge lineup in my opinion. Some of it monumental, some of it just plain old crazy, and some of it you probably thought you would never see in a million years. So right now, as of press time, 4 matches signed for Money in the Bank. Let's start first with the Smackdown Live Tag Team Championships. The Usos will defend the Blue Brand Tag Team titles against The New Day. Yes, that's right. The New Day finally debuting on Smackdown Live this past Tuesday. First time they were on Smackdown since the brand extension. So now, the longest reigning WWE Tag Team Champions, longest reigning Raw Tag Team Champions, are now exclusive to Smackdown. It's going to be interesting to see if out of the bucket here, if the New Day is going to win the tag titles. I hope not. Not that I don't like the New Day, but if you're going to chase the titles, chase the Usos for it. You got to earn it, maybe win it at SummerSlam. But the Usos, they've since repackaging themselves more of that thuggish style. I don't know what else to call it, to be honest with you. The New Day has been really good. Their match at Backlash with Breezango, first of all, Breezango has been on just a tear. And it's more comedic than anything, but, this business, a lot of it has to do with comedic timing. And Fandango and Tyler Breeze have that. They were that match at Backlash. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch Tag Title Match Backlash. Usos defending against Breezango. It was one of the most entertaining matches I've seen in a very long time. Does Breezango deserve to be tag team champions? Time will tell. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I can't say yes or no at this time. But what I can tell you is they are entertaining and they are moving up the ladder. They're heading there. They're going to be champions eventually, I hope. But until then, they put on a show at Backlash. Even their match, they had 2 one-on-one matches and then a tag title match against the Usos just a couple of weeks ago on Smackdown. And, Tyler Breeze with this whole mystery man thing, master of disguise. I was worried he was going to flounder on the main roster because he really didn't hit his stride when he first debuted. But now with this, changing costumes in the middle of a match, it's working. And Breezango, Fandango, that's what I'm trying to say. He's always been entertaining. In my book, he definitely, ever since he debuted at WrestleMania 29, he's always had something. Wow, WrestleMania 29. Wow, it just dawned on me how long he's been around. But good for him. And he hit his stride big time because they were doing that whole fandangoing thing, which then WWE mentioned, and then that kind of killed it. But then Fandango, he fell off. He went into obscurity for a little while. But this tag team that they threw together has been working wonders for both Fandango and Tyler Breeze. But the New Day, they're on SmackDown now, and I guess by being the longest reigning Raw Tag Team Champions, it kind of gives you carte blanche to challenge for the SmackDown tag titles. But I'm going to call the Usos walking away Money in the Bank as still the SmackDown Live Tag Team Champions. In a monumental first, this has been the last 12 months, a little longer than that, maybe 13 months. What are we in June? 14 months. Has been the Divas, what was the Divas Revolution, now the Women's Revolution. This last year and couple months, you cannot argue that women's wrestling in the WWE has not been this good in a long time. We've had that tremendous triple threat match at WrestleMania 32 in Dallas. On NXT, every women's title match at every takeover thus far has been a show stealer, in my opinion. We had the first ever women's Hell in a Cell match, Sasha Banks and Charlotte. We had the first ever women's Iron Man match, Sasha Banks and Bayley at NXT. Respect, I believe it was. So there's been a lot of firsts. And at Money in the Bank, there's going to be one more first, as for the first time ever, there will be a women's Money in the Bank ladder match. You heard that right. The ladies will be able to show their talent in a ladder match. Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Natalya, Tamina, and Carmella. And just like the men, the winner of the women's Money in the Bank ladder match will have a contract for a guaranteed shot at Naomi, let alone whoever the champion is. Guaranteed shot anytime, anywhere, any arena, over the next 365 days, will get an automatic shot at the women's title. And if it's anything like every other Money in the Bank to date, it is a pretty much guarantee that the winner of Money in the Bank will be the women's champion. This match, I think, is going to, I'm going to dare say it, I think it may very well steal the show. Becky, Charlotte, they've already proven their stock. Natty, Tamina, they got that veteran and family lore to them. And Carmella, she's the wild card. She may come out of nowhere with this. I'm not even counting James Ellsworth. So be on the lookout. Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Right now, I don't know who's going to win it. They wouldn't be shocked if they give it to Charlotte, but I don't know who they give it to. I'd love to see Natty win. But we will find out in about, a little over 2 weeks? Yep, June 18th. Speaking of Money in the Bank, let's talk about the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. It will be Sami Zayn, Baron Corbin, AJ Styles, Dolph Ziggler, Shinsuke Nakamura, and the WWE United States Champion, the face of America. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I stand corrected. The WWE United States of America Champion and the new face of America, Kevin Owens. So these 6 are going to battle it out, Money in the Bank. Couple of them, let's see. All right. 2 of them, I think, KO and Dolph Ziggler, have Money in the Bank history. Of course, Dolph Ziggler, the only one to win in this match, win Money in the Bank, go on and cash it in probably one of the loudest, hottest, most talked about cash-ins in the history of Money in the Bank, and especially in New Jersey, the day after WrestleMania 29. Expect a lot out of this match. But with guys like AJ Styles, with Nakamura, with Sami Zayn, we got some flyers in there. Baron Corbin, KO are just hard hitters. This is going to be a good match. As far as who's going to walk out with it, if the title match goes the way I think it goes, here's how this works. Shinsuke Nakamura wins Money in the Bank, and as we'll get into the next match, Jinder Mahal will retain, yes, you heard me, retain the WWE Championship from Randy Orton. Because I feel like, I don't know why, but I feel like Jinder's holding the title over for Nakamura. With that being said, WWE Championship on the line. Randy Orton looks to regain the title for the 14th time from Jinder Mahal. And we really haven't even spoken about Jinder becoming WWE Champion. I mean, look, I expected that match to be good, and I said it before, and I'll say it again. Jinder Mahal deserves to be in the match. He deserved to be in that match. He deserves to be number 1 contender. I didn't think he would necessarily walk out as champion. But he did. And he shocked everyone. Shocked me. The best part about it, if you go back on the WWE Network, you can listen to the pay-per-views in alternate languages. And just go back and listen to the last 3 minutes, pretty much right before Randy Orton almost killed the Bollywood Boys. If you go back and listen to it in Hindi, when Jinder Mahal wins the title, the excitement in those 2 guys, and I don't know their names, I apologize, but the excitement in their voices to see Jinder Mahal win the WWE Championship, they had a lot of hometown pride, and I guess rightfully so. Look, call it for what you want, whether or not they gave the belt to Jinder Mahal just because they're finally in the Indian market. It doesn't matter. He's still the champion. He's the one carrying the ball right now. And he's going into St. Louis, Missouri. Now, here's why, a big reason why I think Jinder will still walk out as WWE champion for Money in the Bank is because they're in Randy Orton's hometown of St. Louis, Missouri. And if Vince feeds on anything, if Vince McMahon loves anything, he sure does love having the hometown hero lose in their hometown. Happened with Bayley recently, when she defended the title against Alexa Bliss when Bliss won the Raw Championship. That was in San Jose. If you look at almost every Raw Smackdown where there's a competitor in their hometown, they always lose. I don't know why, but it's almost a guarantee. It's almost like reverse Money in the Bank. You show up to your hometown, you're losing. And I think it's going to be a smart idea because if Jinder's going to be a transitional champion, let him be transitional to Shinsuke Nakamura. Even though Orton and Nakamura, I think, would be a really good match. I just think that with the heat, the absolute heat that Jinder Mahal is getting right now, it's almost like legit heat. You know what? Keep the title on him. Nothing wrong with having a heel as champion. Nothing wrong with Jinder Mahal getting booed. He's supposed to be booed. He's a heel. Let him keep the title. Let's see what he can do with it. I think he can go far with it. And so that's the lineup for Money in the Bank. So again, we got SmackDown tag titles, the Usos versus the New Day. First ever women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Natalya, Tamina, Carmella. We have the men's, SmackDown Money in the Bank. Sami Zayn, Baron Corbin, AJ Styles, Dolph Ziggler, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Kevin Owens. And, of course, the big one, the WWE Championship will be defended. Jinder Mahal will defend against the Viper, Randy Orton. Now, before we get to Money in the Bank, first we got to get a little extreme. Because, actually, this Sunday, from when this podcast drops, Raw will get extreme. With the one night of the year, WWE gets, quote-unquote, extreme. Extreme Rules will be this Sunday, June 4th, at 8 o'clock. And I forgot where it's going to be. It's going to be on pay-per-view. That's where it's going to be. Big matches, huge matches signed for Extreme Rules. And pretty much all, as they should be, all have stipulations to them. You know, I hate it. Years prior, Extreme Rules sometimes would have a match that was just a regular match. Like, it's Extreme Rules. It's kind of like WCW Uncensored. Does anyone remember those pay-per-views, WCW Uncensored? Something about that first one was so bad, but so good. I mean, the King of the Road match? You know, two guys fighting in the back of a moving 18-wheel tractor trailer? How do you not love that? Dustin Rhodes and a Blacktop Bully? You had a boxer versus wrestler match. You had the strap match, Hogan and Vader, in a strap match for the WCW. No, excuse me. It was uncensored, so none of the titles were on the line. But Hogan and Vader in a strap match, yet Hogan wrapped the strap around Flair and hit all four corners and still won. I don't know how that worked. And then other future uncensored, you had that Tower of Doom match with Hogan and Savage versus like the Horsemen and the Dungeon of Doom and Zeus and I forgot the other guy's name was. In that that giant cage. It's like 4 stories high. WCW was nuts. But Extreme Rules, we got some big matches happening. So let's run down the lineup here. In a mixed tag team match, Rich Swann and the Boss, Sasha Banks, will go up against Noam Dar and Alicia Fox. Look, Sasha Banks, she's proven her worth. She's one of the best the business has to offer today. But I'm happy to see Rich Swann. I'm really happy to see Noam Dar and Alicia Fox back on a pay-per-view match. Even if this ends up being on the kickoff show, that's fine. Kickoff show still gets a lot of ratings, and let's face it, on the WWE Network, it all merges into one show anyway. In a submission match, nothing better than a submission match. Well, actually there is. That's going to come next. But the WWE Cruiserweight Championship will be defended as the king of the cruiserweights. Neville defends the purple strap against Austin Aries. Now, Austin Aries is prolific in submissions. But Neville's been breaking out the rings of Saturn. It's really like the only submission Neville has. He's normally a bit of a high flyer. But we'll see what Neville can do. Maybe he can counteract Austin Aries in the front chancery. But there's only one way to find out, and that's this Sunday on the WWE Network. Now, here's what I meant by there is something better than a submission match. A good old-fashioned solid steel cage. A 15-foot-high solid steel cage. It ain't no blue cage anymore, unfortunately, but we'll take the Cyclone Steel. The WWE Raw Tag Team Championship will hang in the balance as the Hardys defend against Cesaro and Sheamus. And, of course, the rules in a steel cage match. You win by either pinfall, submission, or both members of the team escaping the cage. Now, there was a cage match years ago. I forgot what pay-per-view it was at. It was the Hardys against Edge and Christian. And I remember, I think it was a botch, actually. Like, 5 minutes into the match, Jeff Hardy ended up escaping the cage. I think he fell, like he was hanging from the top of the cage, and I think he slipped and fell, if I remember correctly, which then left like a 2-on-1 handicap match for the next like 15 minutes. So I think they may fix that this time around. But Hardys, Cesaro, and Sheamus inside a steel cage. In a kendo stick on a pole match for the Red Brands Women's Championship, my favorite woman on the roster, the Raw Women's Champion, 5 Feet of Fury, Alexa Bliss, will defend against Bayley. Now, we've seen Alexa go extreme. She's already attacked Bayley and Mickie James with a kendo stick. We've seen Bayley try and get extreme. She couldn't really pull the trigger with the kendo stick. She had it in hand. She was ready to unleash on Alexa, but she just couldn't do it. But we'll see what Bayley can do in the kendo stick on a pole match. So, as the name applies, there will be a kendo stick suspended on a pole above the ring. And whichever woman retrieves a kendo stick will be able to legally use it in the match. One of my favorite blanks on a pole match, and I'm not even going to discuss the ones in WCW because those are ridiculous. But I remember the first one, probably the first one in WWE, was the Nightstick match. Nightstick on a pole match. Survivor Series, 1992, the Big Boss Man and Nails. And whoever got to the Nightstick first was able to use it in the match. It was hanging above the ring on a pole in the corner. I remember someone, probably Nails, got whipped into the turnbuckle, and it snapped because it was being held horizontally. And I think the back end of it snapped off, so it was just dangling then. Made it a little easier for them to finally get. Because remember, I think Nails had to shimmy up the pole a couple of times to try and get to it before Boss Man would come over and get him. Classic stuff, all on the WWE Network. Intercontinental Champion Dean Ambrose will defend the title against The Miz in a as close as you're going to get Province of Quebec rules match. In this match, if Dean Ambrose is disqualified, he will lose the Intercontinental title. Now, we've seen already The Miz blatantly get Dean Ambrose disqualified, kind of teaching him a lesson, if you will. They have to, for this match to work, they're either going to need some sort of interference from Kurt Angle, where he does a ruling of some sort, because what would stop Maurice after the bell rings for Maurice just to slap Miz, causing the DQ? So I really hope they do something smart about it. Either eject Maurice, or maybe something like that happens where Maurice hits Miz, and then Kurt Angle comes out and restarts the match and still kicks Maurice out from ringside. So it's going to be quite interesting how they go with this. But Ambrose, Miz, Intercontinental title. And in the main event, of course, it should be for the Universal Championship, but don't get me started because that's somewhere Brock Lesnar, and we haven't seen him basically since Mania. In a Extreme Rules Fatal 5-Way, WWE is getting away from the Fatal 4-Ways. I guess they figure now upgraded to a Fatal 5-Way. I don't get it. Bray Wyatt, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, Samoa Joe, and Roman Reigns. The winner of this match will challenge Brock Lesnar for the disappeared Universal Championship, and most likely that's going to happen at, yes, you're going to hear this title correctly, WWE's Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view in July. That's going to be for a future episode. Great Balls of Fire. I really hope they change the title of that pay-per-view. But right now, in the meantime, looking at one of these 5 men will challenge Brock Lesnar. Personally, I would like to see either Finn Balor or Samoa Joe for 2 completely different reasons. Brock Lesnar and Samoa Joe will just be a hard-hitting, physical combat with submissions. These two, you got Brock with his UFC background. Samoa Joe is a submission specialist, and Joe's size, I think, would complement Brock Lesnar in the ring real well, especially for a title match. On the flip side, kind of same reasoning but different. Finn Balor. I mean, it would be almost like the Beast versus the Best at SummerSlam a few years ago. With CM Punk versus Brock Lesnar. You had, this giant rock of a monster, Brock Lesnar, going up against a much tinier opponent in CM Punk. In this case, it would be Finn Balor. You want to see a great match, go watch Punk versus Brock Lesnar. I think Finn Balor can do just as well, if not better, in a match against Brock Lesnar. Would either Samoa Joe or Finn Balor win the Universal title? From what I've heard and from what I've read, I don't know. Spoiler-free zone here. So, but to have Brock drop the title in his first defense, probably not. He's probably only going to defend it 3 times before he drops it. He'll probably hold it for a year and a half. Who knows? Again, don't get me started, part-time champions. But in this match right now, You know what? Let's go through my predictions. Let's see. Extreme Rules Fatal 5-Way. Man, I hope they don't give it to Roman Reigns. I'm going Finn Balor. Finn Balor winning the Fatal 5-Way. Somehow Dean Ambrose retaining the Intercontinental Championship. Alexa Bliss or Bayley. That one's a tough one. I'm just going to go Alexa Bliss because I absolutely love Alexa Bliss. So, going with her. Hardys versus Cesaro and Sheamus. I'm going to go Hardys on that one, retaining the titles. Neville versus Austin Aries. This is Austin's third shot at the Cruiserweight title. And since it's a submission match and he's got his submission, I'm going to go Austin Aries and a new Cruiserweight champion. And then mixed tag match, Rich Swann and Sasha Banks. Noam Dar, Alicia Fox. I'll go faces. I'll go Swann and Banks. And those are my predictions for this Sunday's Raw exclusive Extreme Rules pay-per-view. And with that, we're going to close another week and another episode of the Pro Slam World podcast. Don't forget to follow Pro Slam World on Facebook. Also, look us up on YouTube. YouTube is at Pro Slam World, and on Facebook at pswwrestling.com. Pro Slam World Wrestling. Yeah, pswwrestling.com. Facebook.com/pswwrestling. Let me circle back around and let's start that over. Follow Pro Slam World on YouTube at Pro Slam World. Follow Pro Slam World on Facebook at PSW Wrestling. All these links will be in the description. Don't forget to click the subscribe button on iTunes so you never have to worry about missing a new episode. We're on our way to Pro Wrestling Syndicate's Refuse to Lose. Get those tickets at ProWrestlingSyndicate.com. And with that, we're going to wrap it up for another week. We're going to wrap it up for another day. And I've said it before, and I will say it again. Do not forget independent wrestling, because if it wasn't for indie wrestling, we wouldn't have WWE or Ring of Honor possibly, or even Impact Wrestling. And also, check it out for Pro Wrestling Punchline as well. Great service. Check it out on Facebook. I'll put the link there as well. All right, folks. Have a wonderful week.